Good day everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. Today we are checking out the differences between a fake Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus and the original S8 Plus. Now, because the S8 and the S8 Plus were much different than anything else available on the market, well, the fakes aren't as good as we've seen last year, so they're very easy to spot. So, before we go any further, make sure that you press that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, and let's check this out. Let's start with the boxes. So the boxes look very similar and they even have the exact same texture. However, the original one gets a larger box, but it would be difficult to tell if you don't have both of them together. As soon as you open the box, you're gonna be able to tell that the fake one doesn't have anything to do with the original one, so they're very different, and the accessories are in white, so we don't get anything black with the fake one. Now, moving to the phones, so even though they look kind of similar, if you take them side by side, it's very easy to tell which one is the fake one. So even though they are just as long, the fake one is actually wider. I'm very sure that the fake one is wider because they couldn't actually find a screen that was long enough but narrow enough to match the one that they used for the S8 Plus. The backs look very similar and we have the same Samsung logo placed in about the same spot. Now the fake one, it's made out of plastic versus the original one that's made out of glass, but it's gonna be difficult to tell if you don't have both of them in your hand. If you look close enough to the camera lenses on both devices, you're gonna notice that the fake one has a smaller lens than the original one, and that's quite normal because the original one has a much better camera. And next to that, of course, we have the flash and the heart rate monitor, and they seem to be a bit different comparing the original to the fake one. And lastly, even though the fingerprint scanners look very similar, the one on the fake device doesn't actually do anything, so it doesn't actually work. Next, we are moving to the frame. So of course, the frame on the fake one is a bit thicker than the original one, but it would be difficult to tell if you don't actually have the original in hand. Now, looking at the buttons seem to be placed in about the same spot on the frame, but the ones on the fake device are actually looser, so they're not as tight as the buttons that we have on the original S8 Plus. Another difference would be that the Bixby button on the fake device doesn't actually launch Bixby, it actually launches the Flipboard app, so that's another thing that you should look for. And we are moving to the SIM card tray. So if you check the SIM card tray on the original S8 Plus, you're gonna notice that that one is made out of plastic and we also have some rubber seals there. Now on the fake one, it's actually made out of metal, so just check for that. And we are moving to the front of the phone. So the front is where you're gonna notice the biggest difference in between the original one and the fake one. And that's because the screen on the fake one is nowhere close as good looking as the one that you'd find on the original one. First, you're gonna notice that we actually have a logo, a Samsung logo on the fake one, and we don't actually have a Samsung logo on the original one. Secondly, you're gonna notice that the screen is not as big as the entire front of the phone. So there are some black bars at the bottom and on top. Another difference would be the screen that they actually used on the fake one. So on the fake one we have an IPS display, and that means that whenever you have the always on display, the entire screen is actually on and you can tell if you look careful enough. On the original one we don't have an IPS panel, and that means that only the pixels that are being used for the always on display are on, everything else is off. And lastly, all the way at the top of the screen, you're also going to notice that some of those sensors are actually covered for the original one, and you can actually see them on the fake one, so another thing to look for. And we are moving on to the software. So as you can probably tell, they did a very good job at copying every single app, so all the apps look just like on the original, and that's something pretty cool to see. The first thing I notice is the fact that we can't swipe up to open the app drawer on the fake one, so in order to open the app drawer, you actually have to press that icon for the app drawer. The quick toggles on top also look very different between the fake and the original one, and the fake one looks like something that we've seen on previous Samsung devices, so like an S6 or something like that. And we are moving to the settings app. So even though at the first glance they look kind of similar, just look for grammar errors because there are a lot of grammar errors in there. You're also gonna notice that the fake one has something called advanced features, and there we have something about the S Pen, but keep in mind that the S Pen was actually used on the Note series, not on the S8 or the S8 Plus. If we open the display settings, you're gonna see a very big difference in there because on the original one you can actually choose the screen resolution, and on the fake one, of course, you cannot choose the screen resolution. And I believe that the screen resolution for the fake one, this particular fake one, it's 720p. If you'd be to open the storage settings on the fake device will tell you that it has 64 gigs of internal storage. However, in reality, the fake one only has 8 gigs of internal storage. So keep in mind that everything that you're gonna see on this phone is faked. And of course, the about section of the fake one looks very different than the about section that you would find on the original one. So a whole bunch of things that you should look for. And we are moving to the camera app. So of course the camera app that you're gonna find on the fake device is very different from the one that you're gonna find on the original S8 Plus. The camera app that we find on the fake one looks like the camera app that we've seen on an S5 or maybe an S6, so not something that you would see for an original S8 Plus. And lastly, if we check the scores on the AnTuTu benchmark, you're gonna notice that on the original one we get a score of about 160,000 and on the fake one we only get a score of about 22,000. And if you check the info in the AnTuTu benchmark for the fake device, you're gonna notice that everything in there is faked. So we have a fake CPU, we have the fake RAM, the fake screen resolution and so on. In reality, this phone only has a MediaTek CPU, 1 GB of RAM and 8 GB of internal storage. So there you have it, this is the fake Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, so very easy to spot fake. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.